Have you ever wondered if a simple greeting can reveal more than we imagine? Many people believe that attraction is expressed solely through words, but the reality is that our body language often speaks volumes before our voice. In a matter of seconds, a look, a smile, or a small gesture can convey emotions we aren't even aware of showing. In this video, you'll discover some signs that may appear when a woman greets a man who sparks a special interest in her. Before we begin, it's important to remember that none of these behaviors alone confirms romantic attraction. What's truly significant is observing several repeated signs within the same context. Let's start with a detail that often goes unnoticed: undivided attention. When someone feels curious or interested in another person, they tend to focus all their attention on that moment during the greeting. Even if other people are around, for a few seconds it seems as if only that conversation exists. Another interesting clue appears in facial expressions. There's a big difference between a polite smile and a spontaneous one. When joy arises naturally, the eyes also play a part, creating a sense of closeness and authenticity that's difficult to fake for long. Eye contact can also speak volumes. Various experts in nonverbal communication point out that we tend to hold our gaze a little longer with people who capture our interest. It's not about staring, but rather prolonging that moment long enough to create a small connection before we begin to speak. Now let's consider the energy of the greeting. Some women are friendly to everyone, but when someone is of particular interest to them, their enthusiasm tends to increase naturally. Their tone of voice may sound warmer, their expression more cheerful, and the welcome feels much more personal than usual. Then comes another important detail: the desire to continue the conversation. Instead of simply saying hello, they might ask simple questions about your day, your plans, or how you've been. It's a natural way to maintain contact and show interest in continuing to share that moment. It's also worth observing body language. Often, our shoulders, our feet, and even our posture unconsciously shift toward the person who most captures our attention. These are small movements that reflect interest without needing to say a single word. In some cases, gestures related to personal appearance also appear. Adjusting one's hair, straightening clothing, or tweaking posture just before or during a greeting can simply be a way to feel more confident when facing someone important. The voice can also change slightly. Without realizing it, we tend to speak in a different tone when we are comfortable or excited about someone. It may sound softer, calmer, or even a little more cheerful than in ordinary conversations. There is also a very subtle sign that few people notice. After saying goodbye, some women glance back for a moment before continuing on their way. This brief gesture can reflect that the interaction was important and that they didn't want it to end so quickly. However, it's important to remember something fundamental. None of these signs should be interpreted as a guarantee of attraction. Everyone has a different personality, and many are simply kind by nature. The important thing is always to observe the overall behavior and respect the other person's boundaries and decisions. True connection isn't born from a single gesture. It's built with trust, respect, communication, and time. Body language can offer interesting clues, but it never replaces a sincere conversation. The next time someone greets you, pay attention to those small details that often go unnoticed. Sometimes the most authentic emotions aren't expressed with grand pronouncements, but with simple gestures that last only a few seconds. After recognizing the initial signals during a greeting, an even more interesting stage begins. Often the real difference isn't in the first hello, but in everything that happens immediately afterward. That's where nonverbal communication begins to reveal subtle details that can indicate a special interest. One of those details is how she maintains the conversation. When a woman truly enjoys your company, she often doesn't want to end the interaction too quickly. Even if the initial reason for the greeting has passed, she'll find a simple reason to keep talking for a few more minutes. She might ask how your week has been, mention something she remembers from a previous conversation, or bring up a topic she knows you both enjoy. These may not seem like grand gestures, but they reflect a desire to maintain the connection. Another aspect worth observing is her ability to remember small details about you. Perhaps she'll mention a project you told her about several days ago, ask how a job interview went, or remember the name of a place you were planning to visit. When someone pays attention to this kind of information, it usually means the conversation was meaningful to them. It's not just about memory, it often shows that they actually listened when you were speaking. There's also a sign related to availability. If during a meeting, they try to position themselves near you or find excuses to run into you several times, it could be a sign of interest. It doesn't mean chasing after someone, but rather feeling comfortable sharing the same space and taking advantage of natural opportunities to talk. Another fairly common behavior appears when humor comes up. When there's attraction, even simple comments can elicit a broader smile or more spontaneous laughter. The conversation becomes light and relaxed because the other person is genuinely enjoying the moment. You don't need to tell the best joke in the world. Sometimes an everyday observation is enough to make the atmosphere more pleasant. It's also interesting to observe how they react when other people join the conversation. If they continue to pay attention to you, maintain eye contact, or constantly try to include you while talking to the group, your presence probably has special value within that interaction. Another very subtle sign is body language. Often, two people who feel comfortable with each other unconsciously end up mirroring some of the other's movements. If you cross your arms, she might do something similar a few seconds later. If you smile, she might smile back. If you tilt your head slightly while listening, she might repeat that same gesture without realizing it. This phenomenon occurs completely naturally when there is comfort and a good connection between two people. It's also worth paying attention to how quickly she responds when you greet her again later in the day. If her reaction is immediate, she shows enthusiasm, and she picks up the conversation where it left off. It could be a sign that she enjoyed the first encounter and would like to continue spending time with you. There's also a detail that many people overlook. When someone is interested, they usually try to leave a positive impression. That's why they might be especially attentive, polite, or helpful during the conversation. Not because they're pretending to be someone they're not, but because they want you to remember them fondly. However, it's always wise to maintain a balanced perspective. All these behaviors can have different explanations depending on personality, culture, and context. Some people are naturally expressive and friendly with everyone. For that reason, what matters is never a single isolated sign, but rather the consistent repetition of various behaviors when they interact with you. The best way to discover if there's mutual interest isn't to analyze every move as if it were a mystery. The real answer emerges when both people enjoy the conversation, show respect, feel comfortable, and maintain a desire to get to know each other little by little. In the end, a greeting only opens the door. What truly strengthens a relationship are the conversations that follow, the trust that is built over time, and the genuine interest in getting to know the other person beyond first impressions. Because when there's an authentic connection, there's no need to interpret every gesture. Over time, actions end up speaking much louder than any words.